Okay, welcome back to the Caribou Data Science Channel word study series. Today we're going to take a look at some, again, ChatGPT, of course, to help us look up some entries for the word ephod in various Hebrew lexicons. Okay, and you can see the word here, ephod. See, it's not really ephod. It's ephod. Ephod. Okay, ephod. Ephod, I think. Okay. So let's take a look at some things here. Let's take a look at first of all. Take a look at the. Let's look up the word ephod. I will mention I actually ordered myself a copy of this lexicon here. It was recommended by the lady who does who is a cantor or chanter at the Beth Messiah Messianic Fellowship here in Columbus, Ohio. And this is the one she recommends. She said that the other one, this up here, is the gold standard, but it's also like $150. So anyway, let's just take a look here now, and let's take a look for the word ephod, ephod, in this here. Okay, okay. This is odd because we know it's looked up things in books before, because it says it has access to these. Now it's going to give it to us. A linen garment worn by the high priest, Exodus 28, 4 and 6, and so forth, made of gold, blue, purple, crimson yarns, fine linen, and now is that the complete entry? That's the question. Anyway, a pouch or pocket is on the front containing Urim and Thummim, which the high priest used to determine God's will. Okay, and worn by priest and by the image of an idol in Judges. This is Gideon. Okay. Okay. And like I said, this is supposedly is the gold standard. Okay, ephod is as follows. Okay, the ephod, a cultic garment of the high priest and possibly of the priest, made of gold, blue, purple, crimson yarns, and fine linen, probably originally sleeveless and worn over a tunic. Key phrase, worn over a tunic, okay? Later becoming a shoulder garment with straps and stones. A garment of a god or a goddess. Article of clothing worn by persons of rank. Okay. Technical term in textile manufacturing. The etymology of the term is uncertain, but it may be related to the Akalan and Abu. Okay? So, this expands the definition beyond beyond a simple priestly garment. And what prompted this? Oh man, what prompted this was a discussion at Bible study last week at the Reynoldsburg Community Church, formerly known as the Reynoldsburg United Methodist Church. Okay. Second Samuel 28. Second Samuel 6:14. And David was dancing before the Lord with all his might. And David was wearing a linen ephod. A linen ephod. Okay. Now, to me, linen ephod means that it wasn't the priestly garment, because the priestly garment was more than just a linen ephod. The other question is, now what I think is kind of interesting is that in Chronicles, which is traditionally said to be written by either a priest, Ezra, or a priest, includes the phrase, something to the effect of he wore the ephod over top of his tunic. Okay. Now, of course, being the good Christians that the people at the Bible study are, the of course kind of the leader of the Bible study, one of the pastors, kind of like poo-pooed the idea that poo-pooed what it said in Chronicles, well, because it was written by priests. Now, but the question is this, is it possible that Chronicles was written first, and the author of Samuel simply borrowed the story, leaving off some details? For whatever reason, the author of Samuel decided to leave out the fact that David was wearing a tunic. But like I said, I also want to suggest is that the fact that it says a linen ephod, wearing a linen ephod, not the. Okay, now even the word a is kind of interesting. Wearing a linen ephod. It doesn't say the ephod. It says a linen ephod. Okay. But of course, like I say, the people at the pastor at the one of the associate pastors at the global at the Reynoldsburg Community Church is convinced that David, despite the commandments of God, was actually wearing the priestly, was not only wearing the priestly ephod with the golden, golden purple thread and the stones on and the semi-precious and the precious stones on the front representing the 12 tribes, but that was all he was wearing. Which of course, it doesn't say that. Okay, it doesn't say that that's all he was wearing. Okay, let's take a look over here. This particular, the Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon, the Old Testament, or halot, which I said, according to Marcy Cotting, the chanter, or the cantor at Beth Messiah Congregation in Columbus, Ohio, says this is the gold standard, but it's also fairly expensive. So you can get it on Olive Tree, but it's $150. So I ordered something a little less expensive, okay, which another one she recommended. But let's take a look at what this says. One, a cultic garment of the high priest and possibly of the priest, okay, made of gold. Now here's the key point, made of gold, purple, blue, purple, and crimson yards and fine linen. Probably originally sleeveless and worn over a tunic, okay? Later becoming a shoulder garment with straps and stones. It's interesting it says later in it, all right? Two, a garment of a god or goddess, Hosea 3:4. Hosea 3:4 may be an interesting book, maybe the interesting one. Hosea 3:4. For the sons of Israel will remain many days without a king or prince, without a sacrifice, a sacred pillar, and without ephod or household items. So this is kind of odd. Here the word ephod, is it the same word? Okay, is it the same word? It does appear to be the same word. So here, in Hosea, it apparently isn't referring to the priestly garment or even a linen garment, even a linen garment. It appears to be referencing to something completely different. Okay? Without a pillar, without an ephod. So what does ephod in that context mean? Let's see if we can find out. Okay. Okay. So this is sort of interesting. The word the word ephod is used in reference to a religious object. but its exact meaning is unclear and has been a subject for different interpretations. The verse reads, for the Israelites will live many days without a king or prince, without a sacrifice or sacred stones, without ephod or household gods. Now, some scholars believe that the ephod mentioned here may have been a type of occultic object or an idol associated with the worship of other gods, possibly connected to divination or other forms of religious practice. Others suggest that it may have been a priestly garment, a special have been a priestly garment or symbolic of authority similar to the one used in other Old Testament texts. The meaning of the word is in this context is uncertain, but it is clear that Hosea is using it to reference to something significant in Israelite religious practices, that it will be absent during the period of punishment or exile. Okay. Let's come back up here. Okay, Brown Driver Briggs. Now, I believe that the concise Hebrew lexicon is in actual fact based on this here. So, the entry for ephod in the Brown Driver Briggs Hebrew and English lexicon is as follows. The ephod, 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 a garment worn by the high priest and by persons of rank. So that's interesting. And persons of rank, okay? It was made of fine linen, decorated with gold, purple, blue, and scarlet threads. It was held in place by a belt or sash, and it had two shoulder pieces that held two onyx stones engraved with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. The ephod also had a pouch or pocket in front containing the Urim or the Thummim, which the high priest used to determine God's will. The word ephod is also used to reference a garment worn by other priests, and to objects associated with idol worship. The etymology of the term is uncertain, but it may so. So that's 22, 1 Samuel 22, verse 18. 1 Samuel 22:18. Then the king said to Doeg, you turn around and attack the priest. And Doeg and Edomites turned around and attacked the priest. And he killed that day 85 men who wore the okay, so this is interesting. Attacked the priest. And he killed 85 men that day. 5 men who wore, and 85 men who wore the linen ephod. And he struck Moab, the city of the priest, to the edge of the sword. Interesting. Okay. Judges 17:5. Now, and a man named Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and household idols, and consecrated one of his sons that he might become a priest. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own sight. (1814). Then 5 men who went to spy out the countryside of Laish said to their kinsmen, Do you know that there are in these houses an ephod and household idols, and graven images and molten images? Now therefore consider what you should do. They turned aside there and came to the house of a young man, a Levite, to the house of Micah, and asked welfare. The 600 men armed with weapons of war, who were the sons of Dan, stood by the entrance of the gate. Now the 5 men who went to spy out the land went up and entered there, and took the graven image and the ephod and the household idols. Okay? So what this tells us is that the high priest wasn't the only one to have an ephod of some type. Now, we don't know. We don't know whether this was a carbon copy of the priestly garment, or something less or was it something similar to, but not exactly like the priestly garment? We don't know. Okay, we don't know. Okay. So let's see if we can find out anything else over here. Okay. With that, my dear friends, I'm going to call this to an end. But once again, you can see what an incredibly powerful tool ChatGPT is for Bible study. We can look up keywords. We can look up information in lexicons, as you saw here. We can look up the most common words in a chapter of the Bible. In our case, Psalm 119. So all this is possible. And to sit there and pretend like it doesn't exist, to simply turn, I want nothing to do with this. Well, guess what? I hate to say it, but Pastor Bob, I think his name is, whatever his name is making a serious mistake by not using this tool. I mean, I certainly can't afford. I did order one. As I said, I ordered the Concise Hebrew and Aramaic Lexicon of the Old Testament. Okay. All right. I also have a Vine's complete expository dictionary as part of my olive tree. But you have access to all this material. Okay. All this material to help us better understand the Word of God, both Greek and Hebrew study tools. And to ignore it is a mistake. Okay. To ignore this potential is a mistake. Okay. So I want to encourage you to really begin to use ChatGPT as a tool for your Bible study and specifically about word studies and verse studies, okay? So anyway, thanks so much for your time. We'll catch you tomorrow afternoon.